What's cooking, everybody? You're here with us at the Brooklyn Content House for another episode of the What's Cooking podcast, home of the hottest entrepreneurs around the city. So today, this is actually our second panel. For those of you that don't remember, the panels are going to be episodes based around mainly financial literacy, where we're going to be inviting financial professionals to talk about their industry as well as their personal experiences. So you guys have a guide in regards to how to get started if that's something that you want to pursue. So today with me, I have a good friend of mine, one of my boys from high school. He was also in the same class as Isaiah from Surprise NYC, my boy Peter, and he's gonna introduce himself and talk to you guys about real estate as well as his experiences. So Peter, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, my name is Peter Alvarez. I'm a real estate agent with EXP Realty out in Queens. I cover all 5 boroughs and also Westchester County too.
Queens is in the house. You feel me?
Yeah, you from Queens?
That's right.
What part of Queens?
Far Rockaway.
Oh, okay,
Rockaway.
cool.
The outskirts.
From the
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah. So yeah, Peter's always been like a humble, serious guy ever since I know him from high school. It's actually funny. He was actually the quiet guy. Like I tell people all the time too. Like I remember when I first met Peter.
Yeah.
This is more on the basketball tip, but when I first met Peter, Peter didn't even want to play ball. Like Peter was just sitting watching everybody, and then like the
You
next
sure? I
day,
remember that.
the next day he shows up, and then like he's frying nobody because he looked like the kid that just don't play ball. Like everybody's playing ball, he's the only one sitting down for whatever reason. Next day he shows up, he just started killing everybody. So it's just like that was just like
That's
like
crazy. I don't even remember that, bro.
I remember that vividly because when he did it, I was just like, bro, this the guy that was just chilling yesterday. Like he really wasn't. So it's just like, I always took him serious, and I always took him as, that guy that, the silent killer, exactly. So like,
Interesting.
to see that, he's been running it up in the real estate world is just like, it's not a surprise for me because again,
Yeah.
silent killer. I didn't even know he was doing real estate. So
I've actually heard that from
yeah.
other people too. Like just when I was growing up, like 14, 15, I was a lot more reserved and a lot more quiet.
Mhm.
And then when I started getting into real estate, people were like kind of surprised and they saw like a personality shift in me when like after college. Yeah. They saw a big personality shift and they were surprised and they were happy for me too.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like you've always been the same like person. Like
Oh yeah?
your character now, it's definitely highlights like who you were before. Like, for sure.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. So tell us about how you got into real estate.
Okay, so I got into real estate because, well, my mother introduced the idea to me. My mother's a property manager. She's been doing it for like 20 years in the city. So she introduced the idea of real estate to me at a young age. When I was like 16, 17, she was like, "Oh, look, you can make money selling houses and stuff and helping people build generational wealth, and you can also be your own boss and work for yourself and create your own schedule. And real estate is one of the biggest keys to wealth." So she told me that at a young age, and it's something that I always thought about. And I went to college for business and communications, and I was just exploring like other options and stuff like that, maybe getting into like the film industry, behind the scenes, doing a little acting as well, did a few short films. But I realized that, that wasn't the industry for me. And I just practiced my business skills and my communication skills a lot in college. And then throughout college, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do, but I want to gain more knowledge first and feel more comfortable with myself and the way I communicate in order to, pursue this business, because this business is all about communication and networking and knowledge. So, that's really when I started. When I was about 18, I kind of figured that I wanted to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So I got my license when I was about 22. So it was like right in the middle of the pandemic. So I was still in college at the time. I was going to City College up in New York, in Harlem in New York, and right when the pandemic hit, obviously we were all working from home and stuff like that. And I was thinking about getting my real estate license, but I still didn't feel quite ready to do it. So I had a few friends of mine that were also in sales. They were in life insurance. So they were telling me, "Oh, we're making a lot of money doing this. I know you want to do real estate too, but maybe you could start this for a couple months and gain some skills and gain some money while you work from home too, because real estate, you have to be in the field and stuff like that." So I figured maybe I could like just try this out, practice my sales and stuff like that. And so I got my life insurance license in like a month. And then I started working for this company, and I just did not like the job at all. I didn't like the company I was working for. I didn't like working remotely because it was like 16 hours a day just working remote. It was ridiculous. So I did gain skills from
16 is
that.
crazy.
I gained a lot of skills from that month and a half that I worked in life insurance. I gained like cold calling skills and, just how to talk to people and just how to be more of a salesman in that time. So I wouldn't say that it was a waste of time. I gained some
Building
skills.
relationships.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
gained some skills from that. And after I left that, and then I was like, nah, I didn't need to pursue my real estate license right now. It's the time to do it. I was still getting that unemployment money, so I didn't really I have to worry about money like that.
You
And
need
I
that
was
though.
exactly. And then I was still living in the Bronx, in the South Bronx at the time, so I was able to just save up a lot of money, and I just built my business from then. And um, I started looking at brokerages to join, and I decided to join a brokerage with my ex at the time because she would also wanted to get into real estate. I introduced the idea to her, and we got into it together at this company that was around where she was at in Queens. And we learned a lot together. I learned a lot at that company. And then after a year, I decided that I wanted to pursue a bigger company. So that's why I joined EXP Realty, because I wanted a larger network of people and agents. And yeah, and that's basically how I got started in real estate.
Okay. So did you have to get the license on your own?
Yeah, I had to get
Okay.
the license on my own. So what you have to do is you have to take a 75-hour course. I did it in about maybe like a month and a half, but it was the height of COVID. So I had to wait a while. After I took my first test, I did that online, and then I had to wait about like 6 or 7 weeks to schedule the state test. And I had to go all the way up in Albany because there was nothing being tested in the city for it. So I had to drive like 2.5 hours away. I went there, and then I passed the test the first time, the state exam. Every state that you go to has different
Yeah.
requirements. So you have to take a state exam if you want to get licensed in that specific state. And it took me about 6 or 7 weeks to actually get my results back for the state exam. Nowadays, you get it back in like 2 or 3 days, a week at most. So at that time, I just had to wait and be patient and just gain knowledge at the time.
So just a question off the bat, was that ever discourage you waiting that long?
No, no, definitely not. Like it was during COVID, so everything was closed. There was nothing much to do. So
Mhm.
I was just chilling, collecting UE until, time was right. You know?
I'm never gonna forget that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was gonna ask too. Yeah, so you say you did it on your own. Is there a difference with doing it with like a company? Because I know a lot of companies,
Yeah.
especially like when it comes to like that field of insurance, real estate, like anywhere that you really need like those licensing, they
Yeah.
tend to like I can't really say bribe because a lot of people don't know what they're getting into, but that tends to be like the benefit to it. Like they'll be like, oh, and we'll pay for your like so and
Yes.
so like your exam for this and that or whatever.
Right, right. Yes. So the number one tip that I would give any new agent coming into business is to interview with as many companies as you can, especially the big ones like Keller Williams, EXP, Douglas Elliman. Like interview with a bunch
And
of
this is just
different,
for real estate.
yeah, just for real
Okay.
estate if you want to become an agent.
Hmm.
So I would recommend that because every company has different like commission splits. They have different franchise fees that you have to pay for every transaction. They offer different things. Every company pretty much offers like real estate training, but some is better than others. Some of them offer more hours of training. What else? They offer different resources to you as well. They offer different things that they pay for and do for you. So the larger the commission split, let's say if it's like a 50-50 commission split, the more that they'll do for you in terms of like marketing. They'll pay for like the photos if you have like listings and stuff like that. What else? They'll give you certain leads, but they'll still take fees like off of the leads and stuff like that. What else? They mainly just help with out of the marketing stuff for you, and they'll post the listings for you and things like that. And that's what my first company was doing. I loved my first company. It was great. I liked the people there. Everybody was cool. I learned a lot there. But I just felt like I wanted something just a little bit more. That's the only reason that I left. And also you have to really pay attention to the franchise fees when you're working with a company, because let's say if you have like a 70-30 split, so you keep 70% commission and then 30% goes to the company. Let's say there's a franchise fee of like 5 or 6%. On top of the 30% split, you have to pay a franchise fee for every single transaction that you give them in terms of buying and selling. So that is basically 65%, 35 instead of a 70-30 like they would say.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something that you definitely have to look out for. But you should go with wherever you feel the most comfortable and where you're going to learn the most, especially if it's your first year, because you can always explore other options. You need to have a mentor, definitely, like your first year. That's the biggest key, I would say, is have a mentor, and like hold you accountable day by day and teach you all the ropes in the business. Yeah.
So speak on like your personal experience. How has it been like selling, especially since you said you started in COVID, right?
Yeah. I started mainly like about a year and a half ago. So it was 2021 when I started, like around like March. So I was getting my license like during the heart of COVID also.
Mhm.
And I started like around that time. So the beginning process for me was a little rough because I started like in March, and then like 2 weeks after I started, I broke my ankle. So I
Mhm.
couldn't go on a bunch of showings. I couldn't go on a bunch of things like that. So I had to like reset for another couple months. So for another like 2 months basically. So I was just at home studying and stuff like that. And I was already working with these clients that my company had gave me. And it just felt like it was all aligned. They were looking for um, a single family house upstate. And I was living in the Bronx at the time. So it was only like a 45-minute drive for me. It wasn't that bad. My office was based in Queens. So that's why they gave me that lead, since I was a lot closer and things like that. So I connected with the client upstate. I met them at a open house, and they told me they were looking for like 8 months. They couldn't find nothing. And I was like, all right, this is my first deal. I'm gonna put my all into it. I'm gonna make sure they get something. They were trying to, they lived in Brooklyn actually. They lived in about, I think, East New York. So they wanted to get out of the hood. They wanted to, raise a family upstate. And they just had a baby, and the baby was about to turn 1. And the baby had the same exact birthday as me too. So we just like connected the first day off that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. Like, just feels like it's supposed to happen this way. So I looked with them for about 3 weeks. I went on 3 different weekends upstate, looked at a bunch of houses, and the houses upstate are way cheaper, obviously.
Yeah.
So we were looking like in the 300,000 to 370,000 range. Like that was our range that we could look at. So we started looking at houses upstate, and so the one that we actually got the deal on, I went upstate and I was wearing a boot at the time, like
Mhm.
literally just still going on showings. I was wearing a boot trying to heal my foot. I was walking on
Determination.
crutches with the boot during the showings and stuff.
Mhm.
So the agent saw that, and she was also the owner of that property too. And so we connected just off that. She's like, I can't believe you're here, like, on the boot, still showing houses, whatever. I'm like,
Shows
yeah,
the
like
hunger,
exactly. I
determination.
got to make it happen.
Mhm.
So, that deal ended up working perfectly for them. They were a similar family to the family that was moving in as well too. And we put in the offer for about like $10,000 less than the listing price, and that was rare at the time too, because during COVID, everybody was selling houses for like $30,000, $40,000 over asking price and things like that. And so the fact that we were able to get it just under asking price says a lot about the family, because it's not always about who has the most money. It's about who's the right people that are going to take care of this house.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's the one. Yeah, that's the
It's
one.
about the right people. So we connected with the owners like immediately, and they loved us basically. And we put the offer and we got accepted. And as soon as I called my client, I told her we got an accepted offer. She started crying like crazy. She's like, "Oh my God! Like, I've been looking for so long, for 8, 9 months. I thought we were never gonna find anything. Thank you so much." She started bawling on the phone. I just got emotional. Like it really hit me,
Yeah.
and I was just really happy to help them. And in that moment, I'm like, "This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing." Like everything just felt great. Everything felt so aligned. It didn't feel like work to me whatsoever. And it was a very smooth close too. We closed in about like 45 days, and they were just super grateful, and they were happy that I helped them out. Yeah. So that was my first deal, and we closed like last summer. That was my first one that I got.
So you said your mom is a property manager?
Yeah, in the city. Yeah.
And yeah, so tell us. Well, I mean, I already know the story, but tell the audience about the story of helping her like with the house that you guys disclosed
Oh, okay,
recently.
okay. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know it's very emotional and very.
Yeah. So, my mom, she's been a property manager for like 20 years in the city. So she introduced the idea of, investing to me in general, because, I come from the South Bronx. I grew up there. Almost everybody there I know, we just rent out property. We don't own anything, especially like in my family, we don't really own property like that. We just got the first one over the past summer. So we started looking last year when I got my license. We started looking last summer, and we were putting in a bunch of offers for a bunch of different houses and stuff. But interest rates were super low at the time last summer, so we were just getting outbidded and outpriced on every property that we were looking for. And we even got an accepted offer on one property that we thought was perfect. We were only looking in the Westchester and Yonkers area. So we got an accepted offer. We scheduled the inspection, and then literally a couple hours before the inspection, the agent calls me. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the owner accepted another offer that was $10,000 more than your offer. And, that was just kind of like a heartbreaker for us. So my mom, she just wanted to take a break after that because at the time, we couldn't really get another property that was like that one or equivalent to that one because we were just kept getting outbidded. And the interest rate started rising a little bit, so she couldn't really qualify for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So we just took a little break for about like 3 or 4 months. Then we started looking again. So this process was basically like a year of us like looking for the best deal that we could find. So we started looking again, maybe I would say like last fall. We were going on every other weekend or, during the weekdays, sometimes we were looking and stuff. I was also helping other clients at the time. So spring happened and we just started going like full force. Like, nah, we need to make this happen now. Like who cares about the interest rates? We got to put the best offer. We got to find out. We got to connect with all these agents to see what deal that we can get. So I made that my number one priority over the summer. I was like, I want to get this house from my mom. I want to help her. I want to help our family. So we were looking, and May of this year, we started going crazy, like looking almost every day for houses. And then we found one in the middle of Yonkers, which is like the perfect location to be at right now. It's a multifamily, a two-family house. So, we went to the house and we realized, okay, like it's priced this way for a reason. We need to fix up the entire house so we can actually, build up equity in the house. And, we can build the house the way that we want to build it. So we knew that going into the house. So we got it in the mid 500s, so we got it at a good price. And so we connected with the owners. So they were Puerto Rican, like us, like me and my mom. So it was a mother and her daughter. She was the same age as me, kind of the same story. The lady was the same age as my mom. My mom had me at 18, by the way. So she raised me as a single mom from the time I was 10 until, now basically. So we connected immediately with the owners just through that. So we went with them throughout the entire house and they were telling us about everything. And my mom, she loves like old houses and the way it looks. And, the house had good bones as well too. So she knew going into the house that we would have to like fix up everything, but she was totally fine with it. And right after that, we put in an offer, and we got it accepted literally within like an hour after we put an offer in. And we were just so happy finally after like a year of searching that we found something. And we set up the inspection right after that. And the inspector that I work with, he's a really good guy, and he was telling us like, oh, like this is gonna be great. Like you guys can make a lot of money off this house. Like once you fix it up, there's a lot of cash flow that you can make with this house. And that was the main goal. We wanted to get a multifamily first before a single family because she's a property manager. She already knows how to manage properties, manage houses, and things like that. So, and we wanted to make an investment for our family. Build generational wealth, build up our net worth, build up our real estate portfolio, rent out the property and also help people at the same time as we're renting out the property and stuff. So basically after I think we closed within 2 months after the contract date. So we went under contract, I would say like 2 weeks after we got the offer accepted. So, basically the way you buy a house is you put the offer in, and then you definitely should always get an inspection because the inspector will tell you, if the house has good bones. He's going to tell you what's good, everything bad about the house. He's going to be straightforward with you, tell you if there's anything that's going to be very pricey to fix or to replace. So he'll just lay everything out for you, and then he'll give you an inspection report and tell you everything. And it's also a very good negotiation tactic. After the inspection, he'll give you a report, and then you negotiate with the sellers on what you want to get fixed. So that's exactly what we did. So after we got the inspection, we knew the house needed like a gut renovation, and we wanted to fix everything anyway. So he was telling us that we need to replace the roof within the next like 5 years. The basement has things that need to be fixed. I had some like molding and stuff or whatever. The appliances all needed to be updated. Everything needed to be updated in that house. The plumbing, the electrical. It's just an old house. It was built like in 1908. So, the owners like took care of it. Obviously, it's been over 100 years, but it had good bones. The foundation was good in the house. So that's the most important thing when you're looking to buy a house is like the foundation of the property, because that could be the most expensive thing to fix. Sometimes it's up to like 50,000 just to fix certain things in the foundation. So after we got that inspection report, we were able to negotiate $20,000 off of the original offer that we put. So I labeled everything out that needed to be fixed in the house from the inspection report, sent it over to the agent, and told him, like, listen, these are the things that came up in the inspection. These are what we want to get fixed. But if not, you guys can give us credit for it, and then we'll just lower the asking price. And since we built that good relationship with the sellers, they thought it was a no-brainer anyway. And they wanted to sell the house. They thought we were the people that were going to take care of it the most. So we were able to negotiate that. So then after we negotiated that, we got on the contract. And the way you get on the contract is you always want to work with a real estate attorney. You don't want to work with just any attorney. It has to be a real estate attorney that knows all the rules and regulations, all the laws, and they're gonna protect you no matter what. So we wrote up the contracts, and it took another week, and then we finally got on the contract. And once you go on the contract, then everything is solidified. They can't take another offer. They can't just be like, oh, like, we want to accept this offer that's $20,000 more, because you're already on the contract. You have a binding agreement. So after that, it took us about like 45 days to close after we were under contract. And, during that time, there's a lot of stressful things that can happen, very like minimal things that seem like the end of the world or whatever. So, I was just trying to tell my mom to just like keep calm, keep patient. When you're trying to build generational wealth and a real estate portfolio, the number one thing you need is patience. You really, really need to be patient, because this is not a get rich quick scheme. You definitely need to be patient with it. And everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out. And we got the sale of the house in August, and then we started rebuilding the whole thing. And now we're renting it out to a tenant with the first floor, and now we're fixing up the second floor and the basement as well. Try to build up as much cash flow we can in the property.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you said patience, because my dad is a real estate agent.
Oh, cool.
He works with my godmother. She's the broker,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a person that have no patience. And I was trying to figure out like what I want to do. I was like, oh, I think I want to do real estate.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no. He's like, that's not for you. But like working in their office over the summer, some people, they're crazy.
Yeah.
They
Real estate agents are characters.
nuts. Like, and then the people like that you work with, you come across, and they have these high expectations.
Yeah.
But, their portfolio doesn't match what they want to buy. So there's like, you got to deal with that too. So my question for you is, how do you deal with that? Like, keep yourself sane. And, sometimes it's high weeks and low weeks, or high months and low months. Because my godmother told me, 1 month they sold 10 houses.
Yes.
The next month they sold nothing.
Right. So the way I deal with it is, the number one most important thing for me is having control of my own time. So that's the reason that I wanted to become an entrepreneur and work for myself, is because I can create my own time. So I created my own routine, and I have outlets that I use whenever, things aren't going so well in business. So, I wake up early, I go to the gym, I play basketball as much as I possibly can. I meditate and things like that. I journal. So when things aren't going right in business, then, it's sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize that, sometimes it's not always your fault. And you got to just, like I said, you just got to be patient with the process and trust that everything is going to be good and everything is going to work out. And all you could do is just try your best and work hard as you can, So when things aren't going well on certain deals, I've had a few deals fall out for a couple of reasons. So I'm going to give you an example. I had a closing that was supposed to happen about 2 months ago. I was about to sell a house to a client, and there was construction going on next door to the house. And I was a little skeptical about it too. Like I said in my head, I hope nothing happens like during this process of like, the couple months before we close and everything. Literally a week before we were about to close, a crane smashed into the building and like destroyed the upstairs apartment of the house. So now we have to get that fixed up. Of course, they put a claim on that, and we're going to get the money back. But now it's going to take a couple more months for everything to get settled, So, things like that just happen unexpectedly, and you just have to have the patience. You have to have, the attitude that everything is going to work out and be fine. And when you have control of your own time, everything is very less stressful. You know what I mean? Like if things like that happen to you, and then you got to go to a job that you don't like going to every single day, then that's going to be super stressful for you. That's just going to keep you down. And, a lot of people work jobs that they really don't like for whatever circumstances that they're in. But luckily, I have a job that I love, even if it's in the good or the bad phases. And, in the bad phases, when things aren't going well in terms of like buying and selling real estate with those clients, there's always other ways that you can make money. You can make money helping people get rentals and stuff like that. So right now the rental market is hot because interest rates are so high for mortgages. So a lot of people, they feel like they can't afford mortgages and they want to rent, even though the rental prices are really high nowadays too. So a way that when that happened, I'm like, all right, let me focus on just getting some quick money. So I did a rental for one of my friends, and I did another rental for a Section 8 client. So in New York City, there's a bunch of Section 8 clients like looking for housing and stuff like that. And whenever you have a listing, you always get a bunch of people hitting you up for that, especially like rental listings and things. So that's why I've also mentioned it's very important with the brokerage that you work with as well too, because the bigger your brokerage, the wider network you have, and when things aren't going well with your specific business, you can rely on other agents, or you can ask for help from other agents as well, and you can help promote their listings so you can get clients that way. The number one thing you got to do in this business is to network and keep prospecting all the time, prospecting for new clients, and also helping people. You got to lead with love. You got to help people first before just looking for the dollar signs. So I just try to keep a positive attitude about any situation that I'm going through, and I'm always grateful that I have control of my own time, so I can utilize that and figure out what's the best way to move forward. Because when things are just going wrong, there's no reason to just focus on all the negative. The only way out is to focus on the positive things, and stay as calm as possible and not be stressed out. So
I love that.
yeah.
And then the point that you said, lead with love. Like my dad, I'm always going to reference back to them
Yeah.
because they have clients all the time that call them all the time saying thank you. They'll bring them new people, even buy them Christmas gifts, because I didn't realize buying a house, like it's very sentimental to people.
Yeah.
And like when you really take your time, excuse me, when you really take your time and help somebody look for a house, they really appreciate it.
Yeah, like it's if not, it's one of the biggest investments that you're gonna make in your life, if not the biggest investment that you'll make in your life. So it's super important to people, and you got to work with the right people in the business that's gonna help you. Exactly.
Yes. So one thing that I like that you pointed out was
Yeah.
journaling.
What would you say?
Journaling, I feel like that's an underrated skill that a lot of people in any business seem to downplay, which is journaling, because they feel like, oh, I don't really have to write it down. What am I writing it down for? I just go through another experience. But when you actually look back in your journal, you find notes, you find
Yeah.
mistakes that you made in the past that you could avoid in the
Exactly.
future just through that.
And nothing works well when everything is up here. Like that's me. Everything with me is up here. My uncle's like, get a book and start writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Even if you like, I made like a little vision board. I started putting stuff on there.
That's nice.
And then some of the stuff that actually, I looked at it, I was like, oh shoot, I wanted this. I wanted a makeup studio. I put on my vision board. I was like, oh shoot, I created it. I have it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's true. I'm gonna start doing that now.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So that's what I did for this year specifically. 2022 is, one of the biggest goals was I wanted to help my mom get that house, the first investment property. Then I wanted to get my own place, and then really, start focusing on building clientele. I did all those things within this year. So you just gotta, be grateful for your accomplishments that you made already, because when things are going bad in business, you should always like look back to the things that you should have gratitude for and the accomplishments that you already have, and then that makes you feel better, and that brings your energy up, and then you can just continue to progress.
Like when you look at
How far you came exactly within a year's span. I'm only been in the business for like a year and 6 months, and a lot of people have told me like, oh, you're doing so great. A lot of agents don't even make 1 or 2 sales in their first year, and I was grateful enough to make 7 transactions within my first year. So you know what I mean?
That's
So
amazing.
So quick question, would you say like, do you think like location has to factor into it, or well, probably not, since there's so many people out there, but I don't know. It's like,
I
I
mean,
guess
like being a realtor in New York as opposed to another place.
that, but at the same time too, I feel like at the same time that question kind of contradicts itself, because the competition is definitely huge.
Yes, absolutely. There's 8, 9 million people in New York City, so there's definitely a thousands of real estate agents, but there's millions of people who are looking for homes. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Then it goes back to being personable.
Yeah, I was gonna say
exactly.
personality.
You gotta
is
be-
key.
Like you said, leading with love.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go with somebody who cares, or even if they pretend they care, versus somebody who's like whatever.
Yeah,
You
you
gonna
gotta
buy a house or not?
you gotta work with somebody who cares and is knowledgeable.
Right.
Those are the two things that you're really looking for, for sure.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are out here and they don't know nothing.
Yeah, and that's okay when it's your first year. Everybody starts somewhere, Like I was just going off the fly the first year in the business, and then I really learned a lot up until this point because I study a lot almost every day, and that's why it's also important for the brokerage that you go for. So I was relying on my broker and other experienced agents in the office for when things went wrong or how to handle certain things, how to handle the transaction from A to Z, and um, that's the key to success in this business. Like you really need to have a mentor that shows you how to do things from A to Z in the transaction and how to build clientele and things like that.
So it's an industry that's very, I guess you could say, easier said than done.
Of
Because
course.
the way you just detailed everything for us is just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And basically, what I was going to get into is, so obviously, social media is like, everybody feel like they have a voice on social media, and real
Right.
estate is always the first thing people want to jump into. Like I feel like
Yeah. People think it's easier than it
people
actually
just
is.
say, "Oh, let's if all of us put $1,000 into it," like no, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And you just like showed everybody that's viewing like how uneasy, how difficult it is.
It is, man.
I don't know our
You're literally
vocabulary.
just building a business from the ground up. It's like you're building anything else, like a clothing brand or anything that you're selling yourself. You're building your own business. So things like that, they take time. For most people, especially, they take time to build up. And you really got to build your clientele. You got to gain the knowledge. A lot of businesses, their first year, they don't even make a profit. They're just breaking even, and then they start making a profit the second year or even third year. So real estate is kind of similar because you just really need to gain a lot of knowledge. A lot of people don't make their first sale until 6 months into the business. So luckily I was fortunate enough to start at the perfect timing. Like I started when I was living in the Bronx in my grandmother's house, and I was getting unemployment money, so I didn't have to worry about paying my bills or anything like that. um, and I was able to make a few sales during that time that I was also getting unemployment, and then I was able to just really, really engage and focus on real estate 100% because it's hard. It's much harder for people who are, let's say in their 30s, they have a family, they have kids already. It's so much harder, especially if you don't have a lot of money saved up to really get into real estate and be successful at it because you need to have patience with it. And if you don't have money saved up, you got to pay the bills, you got to do something else. You know what I mean? So a lot of people just run out of the business when they're not making money right away. So you really got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. If you want to get into real estate, you got to have a plan of, or a side gig or a side hustle that's going to be able to pay your bills until you start making these sales,
I have wow. So, because while I'm listening to you talk, like I'm just trying to learn a lot right now.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Because Mike, you do real estate as well, right?
yeah, I'm interested in real estate, but like my version of getting to where I want to do in real estate is I wanted to start from the other way, which is wholesale.
Right.
I wanted to ask how you felt about wholesale, and that was my first question. How do you feel about wholesale and like wholesale real estate and everything?
I think wholesaling real estate is great. But as a realtor, it's illegal to do like wholesale deals, as a professional realtor. But wholesaling is great. Have you ever heard of the Burr method?
Yeah.
You've heard the Burr method?
Yeah.
That's the key that all wholesalers use. And
So what is that for the audience? I wonder.
so the Burr method is basically like a strategy that millions of investors use in real estate, and they build their portfolios much faster. So the Burr method is first is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. Yeah, so I'll go through those things shortly. So the Burr method is mainly for like cash investors.
Wait, did you say burr or bird? Like
Burr, like BRR.
Oh, this one I thought you meant like the animal.
Not
Yeah.
Not bird. No.
Okay, so for all you out there, it's bird, not bird.
Yeah, Burr. So it's mainly for like cash investors. So New York City obviously is super expensive, but there's a lot of people who have cash, and it's mainly for like off-market deals, the Burr method. So when you're looking at off-market deals, you need like a wide network of people who have off-market properties or you can connect with, and basically you're looking for like a distressed property that needs maybe a full renovation or renovating most of it, and you want to look for those properties in the upcoming neighborhoods. So upcoming neighborhoods, I would say, like let's say New York City. Williamsburg is a huge neighborhood right now, super expensive. And then in Brooklyn, in Bushwick, which is where I live, they started gentrifying that area as well. So the investors, like about 10 years ago, started going to Bushwick and getting properties around there for like 300,000, 400,000, and then now they're worth over $1 million in Brooklyn alone. So that's where you really are looking for to buy when it comes to the BRRRR method. You want to look for distressed properties in good neighborhoods, and you want to have cash. So when you're dealing with cash, you can get a better deal on the properties because the owner gets the money right away. They don't have to wait months for it, and they're just selling the property to you straight up. They don't have to go through everything. It's a much easier process. So you can get a better deal, especially when the house is distressed with cash. So that's the first key, is like you're looking for the market where you can buy a property for below market value with cash and negotiate that with the seller. So a lot of people, they look in other areas, like other states, especially if you're from New York, because everything is so expensive. They'll look in other cities like yeah. They'll go to like Cleveland, Ohio, or Philly, or like places that are much cheaper, and they'll go and vet out those areas, and they'll study the market, they'll study the areas, and they'll see what is the next up and coming place within maybe like the next 5 to 10 years. So they'll look for those properties, they'll connect with realtors over there and off market specialists, and they'll go straight to the owners and negotiate that property with cash. And since it's a distressed property, that's the first one you buy with cash. So then after that, second one is rehab. So what you want to do is, I just learned this, I haven't done it myself, but I learned all of this from just millionaire real estate investors that I've been studying the past few months. So, and I also have the book called The BRRRR Method that I've been reading as well too. Yeah. So the second is rehab. So you want to make a connection with a good contractor, because the key word in contractor is con. A lot of contractors, they try to finesse you. I'm not going to lie. They try to finesse you. They try to get the cheapest materials and charge you the most money that they can to fix your property, for the labor, everything. So you want to make a good relationship with them. And I would recommend getting referrals from other people that you do business with, or that you look up to in the business, and they'll recommend good contractors to you. And then you connect with them. Maybe you can try to get a discount and tell them like, oh, I'm looking to buy like several houses in this area soon, and I want to work with you. And they'll sometimes give you a discount, depending on how many houses you plan to buy in the next couple of years and things like that. So you want to connect with a good contractor, and you don't want to cheap out on that at all. You don't want to be cheap with the contracting, So that's the second part. So when you're rehabbing a home, the most important things to look at before you even buy the house, you need to look at the foundation of the house, because that can be a huge expense right there, and that could take away all your profit or your ROI, which is return on investment. So you want to look at the foundation of it, and after you put the offer on the house and you get it accepted, you want to do an inspection. You got to inspect the house and see everything. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to gut out everything, and you're going to have to replace the electrical system, the heating, the plumbing, and things like that. So those are the most important things, when you're rehabbing. So when you're rehabbing, you want to make sure all the numbers make sense. From, let's say, I know multifamily houses in like the Cleveland, Ohio area, because I've been studying other markets. Multifamily homes are going for like 90,000 over there, like fully renovated, turnkey, ready. Like you can move in. 90,000 is crazy. So a lot of people with cash, they go over there, they go and buy houses for like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and they'll put like another 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, depending on what they did to to fix the house, or everything that was needed for that house. So after you put in the money for the contractors, then and they finish the job, then you're ready to rent out the property. So you want to study that too. You want to study the market value rental in that area, the rental market value in that area. That's super important. You want to study that, especially if it's a multifamily home. You could be bringing in like $1,300 per apartment, $1,400, whatever the apartment is going to be worth. So that's super important. You want to look at that before you even make an offer on anything. So you rent it out. You find some good tenants. You can even find some like Section 8 tenants, because I recommend Section 8 tenants because, one, you're helping people first, and two, it's fully insured by the government. Some people have to pay a portion of the Section 8 vouchers, but that means they have a job if they're paying a portion of the Section 8 voucher. And some people are just fully covered depending on their circumstances. Maybe a single mom with like 3 kids, she can't afford to work because her kids got disabilities or whatever. So if you're renting out to Section 8 clients, you got guaranteed income coming every single month, and that will help you just keep a peace of mind and stuff like that. So you rent it out to people, and then right after that, you want to refinance. This is the most important step. So when you're refinancing a house, it's basically called like a delayed mortgage when you're refinancing, because again, you're buying the house for cash for like $30,000-$40,000, and then you're putting money into it to fix it up. So once you fix it up, that automatically gains equity, gains equity in the home. So when you're refinancing, go to the bank and tell them you want to put a mortgage on this house. But the mortgage has to make sense. It has to be the right number. It can't pass the appraised value of the house.
The ARV.
Exactly, the after repair value. Exactly. So the after repair value is basically your ROI, which is the return on investment. That's the after repair value after you do the renovations to it and everything like that. So then you can go to that bank and cash out on that after repair value. So let's say you bought a house for like 30,000, you put another 30 into it, and then now your house is going to be worth $90,000, $100,000, because it's not based on the amount of money that you put into it only. It's based on the market value of the house, of the market value in that area. So let's say the average is like $100,000 for a multifamily in that house, fully renovated, and you only paid $60,000 for it. You're going to get $40,000 back. So you can get that $40,000 back tax free, but you should always use it for the next step, which is repeat. You want to do that again and buy another house and do the same thing over and over and over. So that's basically the gist of the BRRRR method. Yeah.
Okay. So going back to I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted your question, Mike. So what was your question again, Mike? I'm sorry.
I was like, how do you feel about wholesaling?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's fantastic. I really want to be a millionaire real estate investor, and the BRRRR method is a great way to get that. There's other methods to do it as well too, but it's a huge way.
And it was like the reason why is because like I had like some bad luck with like sport I have a mentor.
Yes.
Didn't really have a good success with a person I won't name and everything like that. But then I had success when I took the time to just do the research and everything. But I always wanted to hear from a realtor's perspective, point of view, and everything.
Yeah.
And my next question is, what is the most important skill that you feel that has granted you the best success in real estate?
Communication.
Okay.
Communication skills is the number one thing that you need to be.
That's the
top 5 skills.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very personable. I love to help people.
Okay.
I'm very listening and empathetic towards others and understanding. I'm knowledgeable in the business as well. What else? What else is there? I have a wide network of people that I work with as well too in my company. And what's another one? I would say. I don't know what the last one would be. I don't know. I don't know what the last one would be, But those are the main skills that I have that I would, communication is key in this business, Definitely. Networking, everything like that.
You have to know how to talk to people.
Exactly. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing.
My last question.
Yeah.
So what would, because I know you said it's a lot harder to, like when you're 30, you don't have like,
Right.
and then it's a lot harder if you don't have no money and everything. So what would you say to someone who's in their 20s who is wanting to know about real estate? I'm speaking about my damn self right now. That they don't have a lot of money currently right now, and they literally looking to learn the ways of real estate. What would you say to them to do? Like what to get into to just pick up the skill or make some extra money on the side, anything?
Right. Okay. So if you're looking to get into real estate, maybe you can start being an assistant to like a real estate broker or a successful real estate agent. You go to different companies and you ask them and you tell them that you want to get into real estate. And then, you start studying for your exam. You start working for them, maybe even start working for them for free. But most of the times, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pay you for helping them and things like that. So I would recommend definitely like doing research on it online, looking up different podcasts, real estate podcasts from successful agents that started in the business. But you definitely need to learn from experience. So you want to work with an experienced realtor or a real estate broker. So, you can start going into the office. Maybe you can work at the office for a little bit. You can do like the front desk work at the office while studying for your exam. And then once you get your broker's license, you could still be working at the front desk or helping out with whatever people need to help out in that job. And then you build your business that way, and you build your clientele that way, and you gain a lot of knowledge from firsthand experience.
I'll be shadowing. I don't know, like JV, like a joint venture deal, whatever.
Okay.
Like I'll be shadowing people and I'll be like learning and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm patient. I'm a very patient person, but it's like there has to be more.
Right.
I'm just like constantly seeking more information.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, back to the Bird method real quick. Someone who I study, she's also a minority entrepreneur. She's a millionaire, and she bought her first property when she was like 23 years old. Now she's 38. Her name is Atia Blair. So Atia Blair is somebody that I study pretty closely, and she uses the Bird method for most of her properties. So Atia Blair is someone that you want to look for. And another one is, his name is Beyond Win. So Beyond, WYNN, Beyond Win. And this guy too, he's another minority real estate investor, and he came from the bottom. And he came from the bottom. He started out in the streets. He started making money like scamming, selling drugs. He'll tell you all of this too. Mm-hmm. And then, he went to jail. And that's somebody that he went to jail for a couple of years and he came out. And that's somebody that I connected with personally because, he came from the hood. Like my family came from the hood. And, he did whatever needed to be done to take care of his family. And he made a lot of mistakes along the way. He became a real estate investor when he was really young, I think in his early 20s. And he owned a bunch of properties, but he ended up losing everything because he didn't take care of those properties. And he tells you all the mistakes that he made from A to Z, everything that he messed up on and took his losses and, went to prison. And now he's a multi-millionaire real estate investor. And he does it with his kids too. His kids are in their 20s and they're millionaires as well. He does investments with them and things like that. So that's another person. His name is Beyond Win. Those are the two people that I've been studying.
So speaking on mistakes, would you say there are any mistakes that you made that you probably want to tell everyone at home to try to avoid?
Okay, some of the mistakes I made. So my first deal that wasn't able to close, I think a mistake I made was, not keeping the client updated with everything that I possibly could have. I felt like I was keeping him updated with everything that I possibly could have, but sometimes I'm not going to blame him for the deal not going through, even though it was specific things that made the deal fall through. But just keeping more communication with him on a day-to-day basis, because sometimes I'll let a few days pass by while things are going on, while things are working themselves out, because between the deal, there are things that's out of my control, but, I got to keep everything connected and everything together. So I got to keep all the connections with the attorneys, with the listing agent, with the owners, with the banks, both banks on both sides, you know what I mean? So there was like specific things that went on in the first deal that I felt like could have been avoided if I kept in contact with him every day. You know what I mean? If I kept in contact with him every single day, then I feel like we would have been able to close on that deal. But so the deal didn't end up closing because he was a teacher. He worked in the DOE, and he took a leave of absence from work. And you're not supposed to do that without telling like your lender or your bank that you're going to do that. So we found out that he took a leave of absence literally the day that we were going to close. And he took it 4 weeks before. But I was speaking to him during that time too. Like I spoke to him several times throughout that process, and he never told me that he took a leave of absence during the time that we were on the contract. But that's something that I didn't know that I had to let him know. You know what I mean? That wasn't something that I told him like, oh, before we close on this house, don't do this, don't do that. I didn't tell him like, oh, like don't take a leave of absence. The bank is the one that's supposed to really, really tell them that, because they're handling all of the finances. But that just comes with experience as well, and that's something that I learned from experience, is to keep in contact with your clients every day and make sure that they know what they're not supposed to be doing during the process of you buying the house and being on the contract. You know what I mean? So let them know that you can't take a leave of absence from work without letting your lender know, because things take time to come in. Like basically, like his pay stubs will come in every month, but it's very specific when it comes to the DOE, because they need to have like a letter mailed out to the bank. There's specific things that goes on, and they have to basically send a letter to the bank telling him that he's getting paid this every month and he took a leave of absence. for whatever reason it is. And it's just a lot of technical things that you need to let your clients know. And you learn that by experience and speaking with your lender as well. And, having a conversation, all of you together, tell them what they shouldn't be doing. You never want to buy a car when you're in the middle of buying a house. You never want to buy a car because that can mess up your credit score and your income, and you won't be able to qualify for the house anymore. You don't want to buy anything crazy expensive. Like, you can buy certain things for your house, but you don't want to buy like these expensive appliances or like granite countertops or, thousands of dollars on your credit card that you're going to have to explain. You don't ever want to do that. And yeah, that's one thing, is definitely keep in tune with your clients every day about what's going on with them, and let them know what they shouldn't be doing during that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Real estate's crazy.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
like I said,
it's a lot,
it's something that's easier said than done.
It's
like,
100% easier said than done. People think it's just, oh, you're showing clients houses, oh, you want to buy it, put an offer, boom. No, it's not that simple. You need to be very knowledgeable. You need to know everything about a house. You need to know everything about a house, how much everything costs. There's so much you need to know.
That's what I was gonna say. It's not, they don't even know that part. They just think it's easy because they hear their music, they hear it on social media.
Exactly.
It's next to LLC Twitter.
Yeah, LLC Twitter. Here we go. Like,
buy a house and just flip it.
like you see, you know what it is too.
You gotta study.
I feel like it's also misleading because a lot of people that promote it, that are successful with it, they promote it in a way where it's like, we're gonna make it look lucrative to you, to where it's like, now you want our guidance. Like, there's a lot of people
buy my course and I'll teach you how to do
buy the course.
You don't need to do all that to learn.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, especially on Instagram. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I follow some of them too because I feel like they do make it simplified. But I feel like when I actually have to go and do it, I'm gonna do it like through the resources I have. Like, I'm gonna go through the internet and find the right places to be.
Right.
I'm not just gonna trust someone off Instagram. Instagram, they make it seem like, somebody will give you like there's one guy, he does slides, right? And he's very successful, but like, his slides are very vague in terms of what he does.
Right.
And people like basically eat it up, like everything that he says, because they think, because this guy makes millions of dollars, I could be a millionaire in just 5 easy steps, right?
Yeah.
Quote unquote 5 easy steps, but they don't put the detail into those 5 steps.
And how long did it take him to become a millionaire?
That's exactly why I recommended those people, Beyond Win and Atia Blair, because they'll tell you all the things they messed up on. They'll tell you how to do everything from like A to Z. Specifically Atia Blair, she owned multiple properties in her early 20s as well. And then she ended up losing everything because she didn't have enough income coming in to take care of those houses and things like that. So she ended up having to move back into her parents' house. She was living in the basement with her daughter. And, she was basically like, all right, let me take this time. Let me study. Let me stay at my corporate job so I could save up a lot of money while I'm here in my mom's house. And then, start this journey again of investing. And, just listening to her story, it really resonated with me because, she sacrificed a lot of time and living in her parents' house, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever. But, she had to make sacrifices for what she wanted for her future. And, that's somebody that I think everybody who wants to get in real estate investing should definitely like learn from. You learn from people who are empathetic, and you learn from people who want to help people. Especially like us, like minorities and things like that. I connect more to people like that because they really come from the bottom and they build an empire, and they'll tell you all the mistakes and everything that they made. You don't need to take these courses in order to learn how to invest in real estate. You can just, learn from the right people. Basically, that's it.
Learn from actually starting at the bottom, getting in the job.
Yeah.
I said, work in the office. I knew from working in the office, I'm like, it's not for me. I don't want to do it. I did it when I was like 17.
Yes.
My family's already in the business, but I learned so much, like how you guys get paid, like with commission, and all of that. Yeah.
So there's definitely something that I want to talk about people who have corporate jobs or have 9-to-5s or whatever that want to get into real estate investing, is to just keep that job and save up as much money as possible. Get your credit right. Find out a way to get out of that rat race and get out of that job that you hate. So what you want to do is, if you have a corporate job, just save up as much money as you possibly can. And then let's say New York City is very, very expensive. It's the most expensive city in the world. So you start looking for other markets that could benefit you, and you start studying other markets in different cities, and you want to take trips out to those cities and look at the opportunities that you can make with the money, So you save up enough capital gains and you go out and start looking for those properties. And what you want to do is, or even if it's in New York, you can do that as well too. But let's say if you go out somewhere first, you want to, like you said, you can definitely try out the Bird method. Try out the Bird method. Try to see if you can. You got to connect with the right people and the right banks and people who are going to guide you. You got to do a lot of study. You can't just go into like, let's say, Cleveland and buy a house just because it's cheap out there. No, you want to make sure that wherever you're buying that property, for a fact that it's going to appreciate, it's going to build you equity, or it's a fix and flip. You know what I mean? You could do a fix and flip from a distressed house that's in a good area, put money into it, and then, cash out basically from a return on investment. So let's say you want to do something like in New York City, save up your money, stay at that job, save as much money as you possibly can, and then get qualified for an FHA loan. So a FHA loan is, right? Yeah, first-time home buyers, FHA loan, you can get a house from as little as 3.5% down on the listing price. But also keep in mind that you have to pay for closing costs as well. So closing costs range from anywhere from 3 to 5% of that purchase price of the house. So let's say you put a 3.5% down payment. You want to estimate at least 5% of that house for closing costs. You know what I mean? At least, so essentially you're paying like 8.5% cash up front to buy the house, but you're really only paying 3.5%, because no matter what, you're gonna always have to pay for closing costs for a house. So you get an FHA loan, and then you get a multifamily property. You don't get that single family property first. You get a multifamily property that's going to generate income, generate passive income or cash flow and things like that. So that's something that you definitely want to look forward to. So when you're using the FHA loan, there are specific requirements. You need to have above a 580 credit score, but essentially you want to have above a 650 so you get the best interest rate that you could possibly get. So one thing that you could also do with a multifamily home and an FHA loan is when you speak with your lender, and let's say if you don't have enough income to qualify for that, let's say you want a house and it's like $600,000 in New York, but it's a multifamily, but you only make about like 70, 80,000, and you need a certain amount of money to qualify for that. So you can tell them like, oh, I want to rent out one of the units in the house, but I also want to live there. So with an FHA loan, you definitely need to be living in that primary residence for at least 12 months. You need to tell the bank that you're going to live there too and rent out the other property. So what you can do is once you show them the rental market value of that home, then they'll add that as income to your loan, basically. So that can potentially add another 10 to 20,000 to your income in order to qualify for that house. So once you get that all figured out, then you're able to qualify for the house, and then you start renting out one of the units to somebody. And in New York, there's a bunch of homes that have like basements and stuff like that. So you can fix up the basement. You can also rent out the basement to somebody and build an apartment down there. And that could cover half or even almost your whole mortgage. And then you're living in that other apartment almost rent-free or basically rent-free. You know what I mean? You just got to pay for some utilities, and then you become a landlord. And then after those 12 months, you can rent out that other property to somebody else. But in order to do that, you have to get out of the FHA loan first. So an FHA loan is, you basically have to pay this thing called PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, on the loan. And that can add an additional like $300 on the loan, $400 depending on the purchase price of the home. So once you reach 20% equity in the house, then you're able to get rid of that PMI, but you have to switch your loan to something called a conventional loan. You got to switch to that, which is basically the number one loan that people use, the conventional loan. Because with an FHA loan, you're always going to have to pay for that private mortgage insurance regardless. And then if you're using FHA, you also have to live in that house at your primary residence. So you have to switch over loans, and then you're able to use another FHA loan in the future. Because you can't have an FHA loan on one property and then buy another FHA loan in the same city. Because if you want to do that, it has to be at least like 100 miles apart from that FHA loan. You know what I'm saying? But FHA loans, you're supposed to live in that property. You're not going to move 100 miles away if you have a business and things like that in a family. So FHA loans is definitely key. I would say FHA loans is definitely key to building wealth much faster. And people who have corporate jobs and things like that, save up money, look for a multifamily, use an FHA loan, little money down, rent that property out, build up equity, and then, you know, keep it going and move on to the next house. Yeah.
Wow. It's real estate has always been something that, like, I feel like I just overcomplicated at the same time, because it's like right now I'm in the process of like it's not even just like dealing with like the I guess the cash buyers, I guess you would call that, but it's like my main purpose of like the wholesale is to just gather up as much knowledge and as much income as I can. Yeah. So then I can take the next step, which is to be a potential realtor. Right. So sometimes I feel like because of New York's hot market or whatever, I feel like I'm just doing. Right now I'm doing it virtually. I mean, looking at PA. There was this guy who said look at metro areas or whatever. Like I forgot how he said it, but that's how you find the next market. And, I feel like the struggle with it is like are you a person who just sticks with locally, or you do it virtually as well, or anything like that?
You mean virtually, like in other cities and stuff?
Yeah, virtually. And then you said you hired an inspector, so so it's like are you a guy who just sticks to just local real estate deals where it's like you have to be in person, or virtual you could do a cold call and then have someone over there reach out and see the property and anything like that?
Well, yeah, there's ways that you can make money in that too, especially with the company that I'm in. Let's say you have somebody that wants to move to like Florida or whatever, you connect them with another agent in Florida, and then you take a referral fee off that. And you can do that as well, because I can't do like virtual tours and things like that in other cities or other states because I'm not licensed in those states. You know what I mean? I can go to those states as an investor and buy something, but that's about it. So right now I'm just thinking locally in like New York City and Westchester area. Okay. And Long Island sometimes too. Yeah.
All right. So do you have anything you want to tell the viewers, like any tips, any advice you want to give to everybody before we wrap it up?
Well, anybody can find me on Instagram at _Peter Alvarez, or on Facebook at Peter Alvarez at EXP Realty. Feel free to reach out to me with any real estate questions that you have about anything. I would love to help. I can talk to you guys for hours about this and just basically just give you free game. Just from being in the business myself, I'm still learning every day. Yes, if you ever need any help with buying, selling, rentals, anything real estate related, feel free to always give me a call, shoot me a text, DM me. My number is on my Instagram page. Find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, guys. That wraps up the episode.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.